Hello, I'm Murray Newlands. Welcome to another episode of the How to CEO show. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Sam, who's the founder of Admix. Today, we're going to be talking about how brands can join the metaverse and what they should do and how to go about it. So, Sam, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Please tell us about you and your project.
Yeah, so I've been involved in the gaming space for about 5 years now, where I started by simply making games, hyper casual games or small mobile games. And I grew very quickly, very frustrated with how those games, which were free to play, had to be monetized, mainly through advertising, using this pretty annoying, what we call interstitial advertising, which is these ads that take over the entire game. And as a player, you have to sit through those breaks and then going back to the game and then looking at an ad again. And by the end of it, you've watched more ads that you've played the game. So to me, it felt like a really backwards model to monetize, because it's such a compromise between money and user experience. So we had this idea, which wasn't really new, but not something that anyone has really cracked, which was to try to, instead of having the content and then the ads into two different layers, to try to merge the two together and bring brands as part of the creative process. Just like in the real world, where you might be wearing something branded and your car is obviously branded and so on. So we developed a technology to power product placement inside games, but in a very automated way. We're not an agency. We build tools to help the game creators identify areas of the game that they want to bring brands. For example, it could be banners around the stadium, or the shirts of the player, or the video on the screen. And then on the other side, we have a marketplace where brands can identify the games that they like, identify the audience that they want to reach, and then push their assets or their product within those spaces. And the result is a game where brands are natively integrated with the content. So that was the vision. We've been building this for the past 3 years now. We work with 500 plus game publishers, including the biggest one like Supersonic or Gameloft. On the other side, we have hundreds of brands that are constantly buying and basically leveraging gaming as a new channel to reach their audience. And we've raised about $40 million in the process. So that's a pretty fast growing business, almost 100 employees. But what's really exciting is that business, where we thought, this is going to be the way for the next 10 years, suddenly brands that are leveraging our services to get into games started to hear about the metaverse and wanted to be part of the metaverse, especially the decentralized metaverse, where they can host, their NFT activations and so on. And so over the past 6 months, we've been adding services and products to facilitate brands getting into the metaverse, which is, I would say, probably the biggest revolution that advertising has seen over the last 20 years. And that's something that we are right in the middle of it, and already finding some great project and great success.
That's great. So for those who are thinking about this for the first time, how does that work? How are brands being natively integrated into the metaverse? And what are a couple of examples of that?
Yeah, I think the first thing is really to understand the differences between Web3 and Web2. So when I'm talking about the metaverse, for us, the metaverse is the digital universe. So if you take all the games, all the virtual worlds, all of those are worlds. And if you put all the worlds together, then you have a universe, and that is the metaverse. In the future, all these worlds could communicate. You would be able to bring your assets from one to another. But today, that's not the case, but it's still called the metaverse. And then within the metaverse, you have the centralized platform that are owned and developed by the company. So that's Meta, for example, or that's Roblox. And then you have the decentralized, which is on the blockchain, meaning that all the assets are NFTs that could be bought and traded by the users. And on those platforms, what's exciting is that as a user, you can buy the coin, you can buy the assets. And so you become a shareholder in the platform, not just a spectator. And you also get the value that appreciates on that platform. You get a cut of that as an investor. So that's obviously where the economics are the most favorable for the user. and therefore where we think brands should look at, because users are going to go there inevitably, and therefore brands needs to follow the audience. So that's the first thing, is really understanding why it's important, and then it's understanding the economics of the platform as well. So the fact that those platforms are decentralized mean that there's more layers of ownership. Instead of a publisher owning the content, now you have a platform that is building the infrastructure, like the sandbox, and then you have land, and anyone can buy the land, and then you have the creators who can build on top of the land, but they're not necessarily the one who own the land. So there is a lot more layers to consider, and that also opens up a lot more opportunities, because the platforms do not control everything. So in our case, for example, one thing that we're doing, instead of just serving ads in the metaverse, which would have been the logical, kind of adaptation of what we were doing on games, we now also own land. We're actually scaling a fund at the moment to be able to buy more land. And then we have the creative capabilities to build whatever the brands want to build, which could be a stadium or a center, a meeting room, or whatever it may be, right? But by having access to those layers, then we can capture a lot more value. And that's something that every brand or every technology should think about. How can they really transfer their stack into Web3, not just replicating what they do, but leveraging the new economics of this new world?
So what are some brands that you see doing this well, and how are they doing it?
There's been plenty of examples. I mean, I think everyone's seen Adidas, what they've done. They've bought land in the sandbox. And also what was really, really smart is that they have associated themselves with the biggest brand in Web3, which is the Bored Apes, this NFT project. So they basically did a collab where they reused the IP of Bored Apes. And that was a really smart way to not just kind of butt in as a Web2 brand saying, we want to buy this, we want to own this, but really, approaching it from a community standpoint. So I think that was really, really smart. And now Adidas is seen as cool within the Web3 community, which is very skeptical to start with. So that was a big win. Compare that with the Nike acquisition, which obviously was also super smart of Artifact, but it was a very, a Web2 capitalistic move to just, let's buy this company. So it resonates differently with the community, but it might still be very successful for them. It's just a different approach. So yeah, there's plenty of other examples. I mean, we are co-hosting the Decentraland Fashion Week, which starts in 6 days. You'll see a lot of fashion brands there that have been announced already, from L'Oreal to Dolce & Gabbana, Hugo Boss, and all of those guys. And those guys are creating virtual collections, fashion collections. They will be able to exhibit them and then even sell them as NFTs. So it becomes this whole, event that can be run in virtual worlds. These are just a few examples of cool activations.
That's fantastic. If I want to know more about this and learn, where are some good communities to engage?
I would definitely go on Discord. So a lot of these, platforms and worlds have their own Discord communities that you can find, whether it's the Sandbox or Decentraland. We also operate a media platform called Good Morning Web3, or gmw3.com, which is kind of doing a roundup of all of these things. And it's just a news website, basically, where you can go to. So these are good, good areas. I mean, Twitter, there's a lot of activity there. And there's a few groups on LinkedIn, like NFT Thought Leaders, which are kind of the thought leaders and really credible people in the space.
That's fantastic. If people want to reach out and connect with you, how can people help you?
Well, we operate a marketplace. So we're looking for creators who want to build experiences, and we're looking for brands who want their experiences built. And we have the technology and we have the infrastructure to connect the two. So if a big brand is interested in the metaverse, that's kind of what we do. We've been doing that for 4 years, helping them navigate gaming, now extending that into the metaverse. So you can definitely come and talk to me. And then creators as well. We can help you, bring you work, because we have access to the brands who want to pay for those experiences to be built. So I'm available on LinkedIn, Sam Huber. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Sam, thank you very much.
Thanks, Murray. It was great to have you.
I'm Murray Newlands. You've been listening to the How to CEO podcast. I'll see you next time.